Good morning. I wanted to talk to you this morning about an Old Testament story. It's a story about Elijah, who was a prophet. And Elijah had had a big day. Things were going well, and then it suddenly seemed like his troubles were not over. And he was trying to figure out what to do about that. And God told him to go out and see what happened, basically. To go out into and wait for the Lord to pass by. And so what happens is there was a great wind, so big that it was splitting mountains and it was breaking rocks. There was a big earthquake, and after the earthquake there was a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. All of those things happened, and Elijah was waiting for God to come, and God was not in those things in that moment. And then after the fire, there was a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle, which is like his coat, kind of like a big robe. He covered his face, and he went out and stood at the entrance of the cave where he had been, because he knew that God was near him then. So that was what he did as a way of preparing to talk to God. Sometimes we talk about prayer as a way that we talk to God, and when we find a quiet moment, there can be ways that we receive God, and that we know that God is with us, and that we feel God's presence with us. And so that's what happened in Elijah's story. All these big things happened. There's this big wind, and there's rocks breaking, and there's an earthquake, and there's fire, and all of that. And he doesn't feel like God's presence is there with him. But then suddenly there's this sound of silence. Just nothing. And he realizes that that's where God is present with him. I am not the kind of person who likes a lot of silence. I actually like a lot of activity and a lot of stuff happening. I even have music playing in the background right now because that's often how I work. But this is a great story to remind us that sometimes we gotta slow down and listen for the silence and just be still in that moment and know that God is present with you. So maybe you'll remember that next time when you have a moment where you just feel like you want to run and run and run and run, and you say, oh, let me see if I can take a quiet moment. So take a quiet moment and say, I think God is here with me. Maybe you say a prayer in that moment, or maybe you just say, thank you, God. I'm glad you're here. God be with you today.